I'm standing in my kitchen, carving knife in hand, watching my sister Rebecca rub her barely there belly while my entire family coos around her. What they don't know is that in exactly 4 minutes, I'm going to detonate a truth bomb that will turn this Norman Rockwell painting into a crime scene. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this really started, because the pregnancy announcement? That was just the match. I'd been building the bonfire for 6 months. Welcome back, stay tuned. Because what I'm about to do will set another dive in motion for my family. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as we progress. 6 months earlier, I thought I had it all figured out. My name is Julia Chen, I'm 34 years old, and I'd spent the last decade building what I thought was an unshakable life. I was a senior project manager at a tech firm, pulling in a comfortable 6 figures. My husband Derek and I had been married for 7 years, the kind of marriage that looked perfect in Christmas cards and felt solid in the quiet moments. No kids yet, but we were waiting for the right time, which is what you say when you're terrified of disrupting a life that finally feels stable. My younger sister Rebecca was 28, perpetually between jobs, and had been living with us temporarily for 8 months. She'd moved in after her third failed startup, this time a sustainable fashion line that consisted of exactly 12 overpriced hemp scrunchies and a logo she'd paid someone on Fiverr to create. Mom had begged me to let Rebecca stay with us, playing the family card with surgical precision. She just needs some stability, Julia. You have that big house with the guest room just sitting empty. You've always been the responsible one. Help your sister get on her feet. The responsible one. I'd been hearing that my entire life, like it was a compliment and not just code for the one we can dump our problems on. Our house, or what everyone thought was our house, was a beautiful 3-bedroom craftsman in a neighborhood that had gentrified just enough to make my initial investment look genius. Derek and I had moved in 5 years ago, back when the area was still up and coming, which is realtor speak for affordable if you don't mind the occasional car break-in. Here's what nobody knew: I'd bought that house. Not we. Me. Alone. I'd purchased it 2 years before Derek and I got married, using the inheritance from my grandmother's estate plus every penny I'd saved working 80-hour weeks in my 20s. The down payment, the mortgage, the renovations that transformed it from a crack house to a showcase, all me. Derek moved in after we got engaged, contributed to utilities and groceries, and somehow over the years, the pronouns shifted. My house became our house in casual conversation, and I'd never corrected it because what kind of wife keeps score like that? The kind who's about to be very grateful she did, apparently. It started with a phone call I wasn't supposed to hear. Late April, around 10 at night. I'd gone to bed early with a migraine, leaving Derek and Rebecca watching some documentary about cryptocurrency scams, which should have been foreshadowing, honestly. I woke up around midnight needing water and Advil. Our bedroom was directly above the living room, and the air vents carried sound perfectly if the house was quiet enough. Can't keep doing this. That was Derek's voice, low and urgent. She's going to find out eventually. So what if she does? Rebecca's laugh was sharp, mean in a way I'd never heard directed at me before. What's she going to do? Kick out her own sister? Julia's too worried about what Mom would think. You don't know her like I do. She's not as soft as you think. Please. I've known her my entire life. Julia's the family doormat. Always has been, always will be. She won't do anything that rocks the boat. I stood at the top of the stairs, one hand on the railing, my migraine forgotten. My heart was doing something arrhythmic in my chest. They kept talking, but the words started to blur together. Something about being more careful and after the holidays, and she works so much she barely notices anyway. I didn't confront them. If you're surprised by that, you've never been betrayed by people you trusted completely. That first moment of discovering something wrong isn't rage. It's this surreal disconnect, like watching a movie where you recognize the actors, but the plot makes no sense. Instead of storming downstairs, I went back to bed. I opened my laptop. And I started looking. Derek's computer automatically synced to our shared iCloud. I'd set it up years ago for convenience and then forgotten about it. Now I opened our photo stream with shaking hands. There were 247 photos I'd never seen before. My sister. My husband. In our house, in our bed, on our couch. Rebecca wearing my clothes. Derek's hand on her waist in a way that made my stomach lurch. The timestamps went back 4 months. 4 months. I ran to the bathroom and vomited so quietly that neither of them heard me downstairs. Here's what I learned about myself that night. I don't explode. I calcify. Some people catch their partner cheating and immediately burn everything down, screaming matches, thrown dishes, dramatic exits. I respect that energy, but it's not me. I'm a project manager. I identify objectives, assess resources, and execute a plan. And as I sat on my bathroom floor at 1 a.m, I realized something clarifying. I didn't just want them out. I wanted them to understand exactly what they'd lost. The next morning, I was calm. Pleasant. I made coffee and asked Rebecca about her job search over breakfast. She barely looked up from her phone. Derek kissed my cheek before leaving for work, and I let him, cataloging the betrayal like evidence at a crime scene. Step 1 was protecting my assets. That afternoon, I took a long lunch and visited my bank. I moved money from our joint account, which Derek contributed to but I'd always maintained as the primary holder, into my personal savings. Not all of it, nothing that would trigger immediate alarm. Just enough that if things went nuclear, I wouldn't be scrambling. Step 2 was documentation. I created a private folder on my work laptop and began systematically screenshotting everything. The photos, the texts I found when Derek left his phone on the bathroom counter, password, our wedding anniversary, which felt especially insulting. Credit card statements showing charges at hotels during times I'd been traveling for work. Restaurant receipts from places Derek told me he'd gone to with the guys. Step 3 was the house. I scheduled a consultation with a real estate attorney named Patricia Wu, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who'd built a career on ugly divorces and uglier property disputes. I brought my documentation, the original deed with only my name, mortgage statements, receipts for every renovation. "This is clean," Patricia said, reviewing everything with the efficiency of a surgeon. "The house is yours, unambiguously. He has no legal claim. If you're planning on separating." "I am." "Then you need to establish that he's been living there as a guest, not as an owner." "Has he contributed to the mortgage?" "No. Just utilities and some household expenses." "Good. That establishes his status as more of a tenant by courtesy. Your courtesy, which you can revoke." She looked at me over her glasses. "Are you planning to do this quietly or publicly?" "I haven't decided yet." That was a lie. I'd already decided. I just didn't know how the pieces would fall into place until my mother called in late September about Thanksgiving. "Julia, honey, I know you and Derek usually host, and with Rebecca staying with you now, it just makes sense to do Thanksgiving at your place again this year." It wasn't a question. With my mother, it never was. "Sure, Mom. That works." "Wonderful. I'll bring my famous sweet potato casserole. And maybe Rebecca can help you cook? She's been working so hard on her new business venture, but I'm sure she'd love to contribute." Rebecca's new business venture was selling imported Korean skincare products through Instagram, which meant she spent about 6 hours a day taking selfies and another 2 processing the 3 orders she got per week. "But sure, working hard." "I'll ask her," I said, watching Rebecca through the kitchen doorway as she lounged on my couch, in my house, scrolling through her phone while wearing my favorite cardigan. That conversation was October 15th. Thanksgiving was November 23rd. That gave me 39 days to prepare the most satisfying dinner party of my life. I didn't change my behavior at all. That was crucial. Derek and Rebecca had gotten comfortable, sloppy even. They thought I was oblivious. I encouraged that belief by working late more often, giving them more time alone in my house. Every time I came home to find them sitting just a little too close on the couch, jumping apart when I walked in, I smiled and asked about their day. "You're so sweet to keep Rebecca company while I'm working," I told Derek one night. He had the decency to look uncomfortable. "She's family," he said. "She is," I agreed. "Family's so important." I started planning the Thanksgiving menu with my mother, who loved this kind of thing. Traditional turkey, her sweet potato casserole, my homemade stuffing, Rebecca's contribution of store-bought dinner rolls that she'd inevitably forget to heat up. My brother Marcus would come with his wife Jen and their 2 kids. My Aunt Diane, who had opinions about everything and the tact of a hand grenade. Uncle Paul, who'd fall asleep on the couch by 3 o'clock. 14 people total, all gathered in my dining room, surrounded by my things, celebrating my hospitality. Perfect. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, Rebecca wore my dress. Not just any dress, my Reformation wrap dress, the green one I'd splurged on for Derek's company holiday party last year. It was hanging in my closet, still in the dry cleaning bag. I came home from work on a Tuesday to find Rebecca wearing it, posing in front of the hallway mirror. "Oh, hey," she said when she saw me, not even pretending to be embarrassed. "I hope you don't mind. I have a date tonight and literally nothing to wear." I stood in the doorway, my work bag still on my shoulder, and something inside me went very quiet and very cold. "That's my dress," I said calmly. "I know, but you never wear it. And it looks better on me anyway. The green brings out my eyes more than yours. I'll dry clean it after, promise." She turned back to the mirror, adjusting the neckline. In the reflection, I could see Derek standing in the kitchen doorway, watching. He didn't say anything. Didn't defend me, didn't ask Rebecca to change. Just stood there. "Enjoy your date," I said. I walked past her, past Derek, into my bedroom. I hope you have subscribed to the channel, because what I did next was never expected of me. I closed the door. I opened my laptop and sent an email to Patricia Wu. Subject, timeline. Body, Thanksgiving. I want papers ready to serve the day after. Can you make that happen? Her response came in 3 minutes. Consider it done. That night, after Rebecca left for her date and Derek fell asleep next to me, I lay awake making lists. Not the emotional kind. I'd process those feelings later, maybe with a therapist and several bottles of wine. Tactical lists. Who would be at Thanksgiving dinner? Where everyone would sit. What I would say and when, and how to say it for maximum impact. The funny thing about being underestimated your whole life is that nobody sees you coming. They think you're soft because you're kind. They mistake patience for weakness. They have no idea that you've been taking notes. Here comes the announcement. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and bright. I'd been up since 5, prepping food with the focused intensity of someone defusing a bomb. Everything had to be perfect. Turkey in the oven by 6. Stuffing prepped. Potatoes peeled. I'd even decorated the dining room table with a fall centerpiece I'd made myself, pine cones and gold-painted leaves and small gourds. Very Pinterest, very ironic given what was about to happen. Rebecca wandered into the kitchen around 9, yawning dramatically. "Morning. Oh my God, it smells amazing in here. What can I do to help?" "You can set the table," I said, not looking up from the gravy I was whisking. She made a face. "Really? I'm not great with the whole table setting thing. Maybe I can do something else. The plates are in the dining room buffet. Silverware in the drawer. It's not complicated." She huffed out a breath but complied, which probably had more to do with Derek watching than any desire to actually help. He'd been weird all morning, quieter than usual. Maybe he sensed something. Maybe his conscience, if he still had one, was bothering him. Guests started arriving around noon. My mother came first, of course, sweeping in with her sweet potato casserole and immediate critique of my hosting choices. "Julia, honey, you're using the everyday napkins? For Thanksgiving. The fancy ones are in the wash, Mom." "Well, that's poor planning." "Oh well, nothing to be done about it now." She kissed my cheek and moved past me, already calling out for Rebecca. "There's my baby girl. Come give your mama some sugar." Marcus and Jen arrived next with the kids, Tyler, 7, and Madison, 5, who immediately ran screaming through the house. Aunt Diane, Uncle Paul, a few cousins I saw once a year and didn't particularly like. By 1 o'clock, my house was full of people and noise and the kind of chaotic warmth that would have felt wonderful if my entire nervous system wasn't vibrating with anticipation. We sat down to eat it too. I'd arranged the seating carefully, me at one head of the table, Derek at the other like a proper traditional couple. Rebecca to his right, because she always positioned herself near him. My mother to my right, Marcus across from me. The meal progressed normally. Uncle Paul told the same stories he told every year. Aunt Diane complained about her neighbors. The kids dropped food and whined about not liking turkey. My mother complimented my cooking while subtly implying her sweet potato casserole was the real star. Rebecca picked at her food, kept checking her phone under the table. We were halfway through dinner when she put down her fork and cleared her throat. "Hey, everyone. Can I have your attention for a second?" The table quieted. Rebecca was beaming, practically vibrating with excitement. Derek's face had gone pale. "I have some really exciting news I wanted to share with the family." She paused for dramatic effect, one hand drifting to her stomach. "I'm pregnant." The reaction was instantaneous. My mother shrieked. Aunt Diane gasped. Marcus looked confused. Jen started asking questions. The kids didn't care and kept eating. Everyone was talking at once, voices overlapping in excitement and surprise. "Oh, my baby." My mother was already out of her chair, rushing to Rebecca's side. "This is wonderful. How far along? Do you know if it's a boy or girl? Who's the father?" That last question hung in the air for a beat too long. "It's complicated," Rebecca said, shooting a glance at Derek that she didn't bother to hide. "But I'm keeping the baby, and I'm so excited, and I just wanted to share this moment with all of you in Julia's beautiful home." There it was. The thing she'd been building to, the reason she'd wanted to announce here, today, surrounded by family. Because she thought I'd have to smile and play nice. She thought I wouldn't make a scene at Thanksgiving dinner. She'd miscalculated. I stood up slowly. Everyone turned to look at me. I picked up my wine glass, I'd been saving it, hadn't taken more than a few sips all afternoon, and raised it slightly. "Well, this is quite an announcement," I said calmly. "I suppose I should share some news too." Derek's eyes locked on mine. He knew. Somehow he knew. "Since we're all here in this beautiful home, which Rebecca mentioned, I think it's time everyone knows something important." I paused, letting the tension build, feeling 14 pairs of eyes on me. I own this house. Not Derek and I together. Just me. My name is on the deed. I pay the mortgage. This is my house, my furniture, my dishes we're eating off of. You could have heard a pin drop. And since it's my house, I continued, my voice perfectly pleasant, I wanted everyone here to witness me asking both Derek and Rebecca to leave. Tonight. Immediately after dinner. "Julia," my mother started. "I found out 4 months ago that they've been having an affair." I let that land. Right here, in my house, in my bed, while I was working to pay the mortgage they both benefit from. Rebecca's face had gone from glowing to ashen. Derek stood up, his chair scraping back. "We should talk about this privately," he said. "Why? You two weren't very private about it." "In fact, Derek, remember that time you told me you were going to a work conference in Portland? I found the hotel receipts. The Marriott downtown. 20 minutes from here." Aunt Diane was fanning herself with her napkin. Marcus looked like he wanted to melt through the floor. My mother had one hand pressed to her chest, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. "So, Rebecca, congratulations on your pregnancy. I hope you've figured out where you're going to live, because it won't be here. Derek, there's a lawyer's office expecting you at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. The address is in an email I sent you approximately 30 seconds ago. You'll be served with divorce papers." "You can't do this," Rebecca said, finding her voice. "You can't just throw me out. I'm family." "You're right. You are family. Family who's been sleeping with my husband for months. Family who wore my clothes, ate my food, and apparently thought I was too stupid or too spineless to figure it out." I turned to my mother, who was still frozen in shock. "Mom, you're welcome to leave with them if you'd like. Or you can stay for dessert. I made your favorite, pumpkin pie with the bourbon whipped cream." The silence was excruciating and perfect. Here's what people don't tell you about detonating your life at a major holiday. It's absolutely going to ruin that holiday forever, but it's also incredibly satisfying. Derek tried to argue. Of course he did. "You're being crazy," he said, which was the wrong move. "You're overreacting. We can work this out." "We really can't," I said. "You're going to pack a bag, one bag, because everything else in this house belongs to me, and you're going to leave. Tonight. If you're not gone by 8 p.m., I'm calling the police and reporting you as a trespasser. This is insane. Rebecca had found her outrage now. Mom, tell her she's being insane. My mother looked between us, her face cycling through emotions like a slot machine. Julia, honey, maybe? Mom. I turned to her. If you defend what they did, if you make excuses or tell me I need to think about family right now, I need you to understand that I won't speak to you for a very long time. Maybe ever. So choose your next words carefully. She closed her mouth. Nodded. Sat back down. The dinner ended shortly after that, as you might imagine. Aunt Ian left muttering about never seen anything like this in a tone that suggested she was deeply entertained. Uncle Paul had slept through most of it. Marcus and Jen gathered their kids and left quickly, though Jen squeezed my shoulder on the way out and whispered, "Good for you." By 7 o'clock, Derek had packed 2 duffel bags and loaded them into his car. He tried one more time to talk to me, standing in the doorway of the house he'd thought was his. "I'm sorry," he said. "I never meant for this to happen." "Yes, you did. You meant for exactly this to happen. You just didn't mean to get caught." He left. I watched his taillights disappear down the street. Rebecca was a harder extraction. She alternated between crying and yelling, and at one point, threatened to refuse to leave. "You can't make me," she said. "I'll squat here. I have rights. You have 0 rights. You're not on the lease or the deed. You're a guest who's overstayed her welcome. Leave voluntarily or I press charges for trespassing." She left, eventually, after my mother, who'd stayed, probably more out of shock than solidarity, convinced her that I was serious. They loaded Rebecca's things into Mom's car. It took 3 trips. How had she accumulated so much stuff in 8 months? As they were leaving, my mother turned to me. "Are you going to be okay?" "I am," I said. And meant it. By 9 o'clock, my house was empty and quiet. I poured myself a large glass of wine, sat on my couch, and felt the weight of the last 4 months lift. I didn't cry. I probably should have, probably would eventually. But in that moment, I just felt free. The divorce was ugly but efficient. Derek tried to claim he deserved half the house since we'd been married when it appreciated in value. Patricia Wu demolished that argument in about 45 seconds, presenting the documentation that the house was my premarital asset and that Derek had contributed nothing to the mortgage or major improvements. He paid for groceries, Derek's lawyer argued weakly. "So did I countered. And the mortgage. And the property taxes. And every major renovation. He can have his contribution to groceries back if he'd like. I calculated at approximately $7,000 over 5 years. I'll write him a check." We settled out of court. Derek got nothing except his personal belongings and the car that was in his name. I kept the house, my retirement accounts, and my dignity. Rebecca tried to text me twice. Once to tell me I'd ruined her life. Once to ask if I could loan her money for a security deposit on an apartment. I blocked her number after the second message. My mother called weekly for about 2 months, trying to mediate. "She's still your sister," she kept saying. "Family is forever. So is betrayal," I replied. Eventually, she stopped trying to force a reconciliation. I think she realized that some breaks are permanent. It's been 8 months since that Thanksgiving. Rebecca had the baby, a girl, I heard through my brother. I haven't met her and have no plans to. Derek, according to mutual friends, moved in with Rebecca for about 3 months before realizing that the person who'll cheat with you will cheat on you. Last I heard, he's living with a roommate in a studio apartment across town. I'm still in my house. I repainted the bedroom, replaced the couch, bought new sheets with a thread count so high it feels like sleeping on clouds. I hosted a small dinner party last month, just Marcus, Jen, and a few close friends, and it felt like an exorcism. The house was mine again, fully mine, free of ghosts. Last week, my mother asked if I'd be hosting Thanksgiving this year. "No," I said. "I'm going to Hawaii. Already booked the flight." "By yourself?" "Yes, by myself." There was a pause. Then, "That sounds really nice, actually." "It does, doesn't it?" Here's what I learned from all of this. Being the responsible one, the accommodating one, the one who keeps the peace, those aren't bad things until people mistake them for weakness. And when people mistake kindness for stupidity, they need to be reminded that the person who stays quiet isn't necessarily the person who doesn't notice. I noticed everything. And when the time came, I made sure everyone else noticed too. Do you think I did the right thing by cheesing them both out of my house? Share your thoughts on the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe for more to come.